Call to order, roll call of members. Everybody's here. Public comment, no discussion or comments will be entertained unless requested upon by the chairperson of the board or committee. Speaking time is 3 minutes for each person. Member of public must state their name and address or precinct. Review and approve previous meeting minutes.
I move we approve.
Okay. Second,
Oh, yeah.
all in favor? New business. Excise weeks.
All right. So we can do the motor vehicle abatements, past weeks.
Today is the 25th. It's there.
That's a lot? I was gonna
I'm
say.
saying that. And okay,
And we do have one denial sent in by Enterprise. They canceled the plate in December, so they're not eligible for an abatement. You can see the paperwork attached if you'd like to.
Nice job catching that.
Well, we don't do a lot of those.
and the reason for that was?
The plate was canceled in December, so, which means they're not eligible for any money back.
The preliminary bill.
Yeah. We want to do the, we do have one revised bill to do before. Hey. No, it's okay.
I'm Stella Chan.
Oh,
I
hi.
started yesterday as finance person.
Hi, I'm Chuck Green.
Chuck, nice to meet you.
Hi. Oh, hi, Jim.
Nice to meet you.
So you were interim and now you're,
Interim. I mean, I was interim yesterday and today I'm different. I don't know.
You're definitely joining us?
Well,
Or you're just helping? out in the
I,
meantime?
no, why didn't you mean? No, I work for Robert Half Associates.
Oh, okay.
And then so they contacted me and said, the city of Greenfield is looking for an interim finance director. So I have to use my official title. This interim.
Gotcha.
well, thank you for joining us and helping us.
So right now, I'm really just a sponge. I'm just learning, observing. But I've been a property owner for many, many years in different towns and cities. And I remember when the mayor asked me in the interview, she goes, well, do you have any experience with city government? I said, absolutely. I said, I have, the first thing I said was, I've owned property and I know the assessors, all, at least in the towns that I was in, you know. And one of my neighbors in our very, very tiny town of Savoy, she is the assessor now. And so, you know, it's like the one department that is as a property owners, and I said, you know, that you interact with a lot. I mean, I think, well, besides the water sewer department, that too. What the hell is this bill? But yes, so anyway, so I appreciate Randy and Elizabeth, Devin, Devin. Absolutely allowing me to sit in. I didn't even interrupt.
Oh, wow. I mean,
I'm
it's,
sorry.
it's our
Are you-
privilege, but the more layers of management we have going up means we have tacit approval for everything. we
Oh,
do.
really? Well, I don't know what that means, but am I sitting in the mayor's seat? Should I sit on the side?
No, you're fantastic.
Where is she?
She is you.
When-
You are her today.
She may show up.
Okay.
You are her representative.
When she's
I have a
done.
representative. Okay, she didn't say that, but she just said, oh, you might like to go to the meeting. I'm like, okay. All right, I'm
It's a
sorry,
pleasure.
but it's really your meeting.
It's actually Jim's meeting.
Oh, it's
It was the
just-
chairman, yes.
Yeah.
So just so you know, I am a board member, but there's a change to the charter coming where there'll be another elected person from Greenfield that will be the third board member, and I will be an advisor to the board.
Oh, when you say elected, you mean like it goes out to the public and?
Yeah, we were elected.
You are, okay.
It's enough signatures to get on the ballot, and then,
It's,
Oh, okay, I got you. Is that what all those names are when you go? You're like,
Yes.
I'm like, okay.
it's 4-year terms, but they're staggered. So
Okay.
Jim's in his 3rd year and I'm in my 1st.
Okay, all right, cool. And you said they're gonna add a position, that will be elected?
yeah, it was already in the works, I think even before I got here, but to
Okay.
change the bylaws of the town is a long process, and so
Oh,
it's in the works, but it isn't, as far as I know, it hasn't been finalized.
so how many members will there be?
There'll be 3 board
Three
members.
board members, and then people are invited to attend certain meetings or? is it-
The public's invited to attend, I think, every meeting that we have.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Do you
mean,
expect any public today?
We usually get 1 or 2.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And
sometimes by.
Oh, and then there's somebody.
yeah, the meetings happen virtually also.
It's just me.
Oh, it's just, that's, okay. Maybe I should-
I'm the only other person in the meeting. That's why my name is so prominent.
Oh, I was like, okay.
Yeah, no, it's, as soon as, Stephanie joins or Ryan
Oh,
or,
okay.
who's the other guy that gave me the sense of
Bob Wilford.
Williford? Yeah, when one of those people joins, we'll see. If we're fortunate enough to have them, they have all definitely contributed to us one way or the other.
Oh, okay.
But it's all being boarded in now.
All right.
I'll give you a copy of our agenda and then I'll spare 2 minutes of time if you need it.
Oh,
Thank you. Sure.
I'm looking for a pen.
Brought extras.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right, so
We were the preliminary bill commitments.
this is for 0 Mohawk Trail. This is it's a revised bill, right? You want to explain this one?
So, GCE2. Or we found out about a new property basically in town. So, not a new property, but a house on a property that actually is, it's a whole situation. So it came on our radar and we found out about it. And it's like a camp that's in, on what we are deeming an unbuildable parcel. And so, the building inspector is involved. And last Friday, I did an inspection with or not last Friday, but it was, the week before Wednesday, did an inspection with the fire chief and the owner and the, building inspector. And now put a value on it. And it's been there, you know, it's from the satellite photos as long as since 2011. And, so we found out about it and, contacted the owner, got an inspection. And, now whether it's going to be able to still stay or not zoning wise, it's a whole issue. But for now, we're at least capturing the value.
Is this, where is 0?
That just means it doesn't have an address. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's,
Where
it
is
doesn't have a formal address. It's past,
McDonald's?
no, past Home Depot and everything.
And it's on the right. Is it on the right?
It's on the left.
So on the Home Depot side.
Yes,
Not in that, not in that property though.
no,
We have another thing like that in our tip sheet, which we haven't looked into, but it's a guy's property on the other side of the street from Home Depot.
Mhm.
And the tip was that they've had a unpermitted large, I guess, shed or commercial building for many years. And I mean, I told them, geez, if it's been that many years, we probably can't do anything about it. But maybe we can.
we can't go back, but we can get it now. And so.
So, okay, so that's,
Prior to, you know, there's a deadline of June 20th that I have to be able to create omitted.
for fiscal year 25.
For fiscal year 24.
Oh, for fiscal year 24, okay.
Yeah.
I just mentioned it, just that's already on the tip sheet, so we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah. Well, through the same process that brought this to our attention, there's also a couple more. One though, that, I brought those all to the attention of the building inspector, and I guess a couple of them about. But anyway, we're gonna try and get everything caught up.
Great.
Thank you for that extra effort,
Yeah.
especially to go out there with the building inspector.
That's really very good. Interesting
Interesting.
inspection.
Oh, yeah.
That's a preliminary. So I've got a couple to sign off on here. So we put the Community Preservation Act, sign off on the real estate and the personal property. So there's 3 different.
So
places.
we're doing the billing now. And this is the commitments for the amounts that were committed right now, the warrants for the amounts, which are, the preliminary bills.
This is the
Based
end of a
off of-
long process, right?
No, it's the beginning of a new process. This is the bills for fiscal 25. So we'll look back at what we charged last year. And we're multiplying it by 51.5 and then dividing that by 2, and that's how we're getting our quarterly bill amount. Because we're trying to build in an anticipated 3% increase to make the quarterly bills,
Yeah.
Doesn't always happen, but
What's 51.5? Yeah,
51.5. So how do we, for the preliminary bill, we get that bill by looking at what you paid last year. We basically divide it by 4, and that should go for the first and second quarter. But here, instead of doing that, we're trying to anticipate a 3% increase. So instead of dividing by 4, we multiply by 51.5 and then divide that by 2
oh,
to get an extra,
Little-
anticipated
Then-
3%. And that increases the amount of the first and second quarter and hopefully makes it more level with the third and fourth quarter, because any differences are made up in the third and fourth quarter.
oh, they are,
We don't-
yeah.
we do
But you
this-
don't want people to feel like it's variable.
Yeah, when it's, they're happier when it's more consistent
And it's always corrected to actual by third quarter, right?
by the third quarter. And so,
Oh, I see.
why do we do that? Because we don't have our tax rate set yet. And
Right.
our values aren't approved by the Department of Revenue. So that will happen when we go through the classification process, and our schedule is usually like in November.
Oh,
When we're having that classification hearing by the city council.
mhm.
Move forward on whether we have, a couple different things, whether we have a split tax rate or not. And
So did you work with Harold to develop the 3% for this year?
no, that was with Kelly.
Oh, you worked with Kelly to develop that. Okay,
Yeah, Kelly and Angelica really
all right.
are the ones that are putting together
Is
the,
that
Oh,
in the
because it's
budget?
budget related.
It's in the budget, but it's not set. It's the anticipation of 3%.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the way it would work, or even if we didn't do the 3%.
Yeah.
The actual bill works, because I'm not gonna change the value.
Right,
And
right.
when those values change, you'll see the impact of it, or the results of it in the third and fourth quarter.
Mhm.
The actual bills. And that's why when, my whole spiel to anyone, that's why in January, when you get your first actual bill, you have 30 days to apply for an abatement. And that's the only time in the fiscal year when you can apply for an abatement and say, the assessors, hey, I don't feel my value is correct.
Mhm.
I want to go back to that Mohawk Trail. Is it before the bridge that Shelburne Road runs on, or is it after that? Going up the
It's
hill?
before it, I think. And it's set way back.
You only see it in satellite photos.
Yeah, I'm going to show you that interesting one.
Okay, just curious. Okay, so that's about 21 million.
Well, it has, even, I had to develop a value for it. And what I put in, I felt was a lot more than what it was, and rightly so. Because I had, like I said, it's tough to even put a value on it. because it has the whole issue of zoning and you know, is it gonna need to be torn down? Yes or no? I don't know. Hopefully they can figure it out somehow, but also then that's gonna change the value of the land.
Mhm.
So that's a whole unknown. You don't know that. You just had to come up with some value and something to charge her.
Mhm.
And,
The subject.
That's,
to real estate.
that gets.
so I put on
This is the personal,
external obsolescence
about 1.5 million.
or access,
Am I supposed to give this back?
because it really was.
Yeah,
And
it does.
I'm just including you in the.
Okay.
well-maintained road.
I was thinking our, total commitment there is about 21 mil, 22.
Oh,
Yep, 20 million.
For just over 7,000 properties.
No, and I thought there was a second one.
That's the personal property for about
Oh,
one and a
personal
half.
property, so that's 21.
The personal property is just like, it's,
Just one to add to
Yeah,
the
no,
20.
no. It's just-
oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Okay. So we have what, 8 more to go? All right. Guess we're all set on that.
Well, such a small number.
Yeah, personal
Yeah,
property tax.
that's our
is there.
Or so, it's like reverse, small number relative, but a big, it's really the main, it's the, I won't say cash cow. but it's-
No, the real estate is the cash cow. not
Well, like with
personal
this,
Property.
oh, this, you said it's excise.
It's,
This one's
personal,
personal
it's
property.
for the business property.
Oh, it's the business, that's what
Public
that is.
equipment, business
Oh.
equipment.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
So it's not a huge thing,
Yeah.
but,
So
I
that
know,
Form ABC, I used to always fill out. Remember, we had to declare all your property and,
that's if you're a nonprofit or
That's
not a
right.
nonprofit, but if you're
Business.
exempt.
yes, that's, all. yeah. Okay.
You're a charity.
How do you stay on top of those? I mean, because businesses are always doing capital investments or
we,
disposed.
we'll have an update on this. later
Oh,
in
I'm
the meeting,
sorry.
Won't we? How's staying on top of personal property? Actually, it's gonna be a bit of a victory lap.
It's,
Mhm.
oh, that's good.
Okay, so that was, that took care of new business, old business. Assessor's office operations.
Doing our best to keep up,
Yeah,
preparing for the exemption mailing. Coordinating with RRC
Right.
for them to have our
Personal property.
This is the
personal
victory
property
lap.
done. They're almost ready to.
RRC.
I said it's RRG.
That's a different thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The others two are real estate research consultants as opposed to real estate research group.
Okay.
And this RRC specializes in personal property.
Oh, gotcha.
So since I've been here, I've seen that the personal property was not well taken care of.
Oh,
And then my board here went out and helped me do an inventory of what we had and what we didn't have. And we found about 140 businesses that were no longer here, but we still had them in our system.
mhm.
320 that were here that we did not have.
Oh, good. That you found.
So.
That's a good one.
We were able to, through accessing, I think, ARPA funds right away, because I suggested to the mayor that within the next couple of years, we do a full inventory. And we're looking for new growth. And so she wanted to do it right away, and we were able to access the funds to do it. And so it's, you know, usually costs anywhere between 40 to 60,000. We're on the lower end of that. But you usually, in new growth, you realize that back in new tax dollars and more. So
Yes.
we're hoping, and it's just, it's not fair to anyone that is a business and is, you know,
Thank you.
getting us our information and paying personal property tax to have other businesses out there that should and could be paying and having not paying.
So there's 300 plus that you did find that weren't on your rolls, but now you can put on the rolls.
Right.
How many were like recently coming to do business in Greenfield? I mean, because that would be cool to see that growth of the business growth.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think many of them were probably new, but I think a lot of them are businesses that moved. So like the business, it's not where it was supposed to be.
Oh,
And now
okay.
it's this other business over here, and it might have a different name,
Okay.
but it's really the same business.
Okay,
So I think there's a lot of that kind of churn.
yeah.
But there is new businesses came in, I think we saw.
Yeah, and a significant factor is that we have an exemption amount of $10,000. If your personal property is under $10,000, you don't get a bill.
Okay,
So yes, there's 320 accounts, but it's not like 320 accounts that are all.
understood.
over that amount in
Right.
taxes, so.
Yeah.
It's not as, bad as it might sound with 320, but at the same time, it's our responsibility to be on top of it. And then if we were every year, we could give you some type of report.
Yeah, wouldn't that be
on
interesting just to see if we're really
businesses,
growing,
trends and that
net,
type of thing.
net growing as a city with commercial?
I think we're gonna have a meeting soon about new growth.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm sure you'll be included in it.
Yeah, but I'm gonna, well, I talked with Ginny over the weekend. So if we can, we're gonna meet ahead of that meeting.
Oh.
And I have, I'll brief you on all the discussions about that exact topic that you just
Oh,
mentioned.
okay.
About identifying new businesses, how to find them, how to find ones that are already here, how to encourage new ones. It's a whole effort that Ginny is
Okay.
having us all do.
Oh, great. But it's really good that you're cleaning up your roles, your radar, because it's one thing to say, well, they're small and they're exempted, but you have them on your radar because they could get big.
Yeah.
You wanna
and
make
it's-
sure you keep-
It's our responsibility from the Department of Revenue to know about the
Absolutely.
business, so.
Yeah.
I think it's just a culmination of,
Yes.
many years of not getting the attention that we did.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to
Great.
get that in place.
It's great.
We're under a lot of pressure this year.
Yes, I saw that on her little budget.
Yeah.
And a lot of those businesses, I don't know what fraction, are not registered with the city.
Oh.
Haven't filed for the certificate.
Yeah, because that's another way we do discovery of businesses,
Yeah.
business certificates from the clerk.
Yes, yes. Oh,
And,
yeah.
and we don't, the clerk's office doesn't chase down businesses and, follow up and
Right.
ensure that everybody's reporting. So,
Right, it's hard to do.
It's hard to do.
We're all gonna be focusing on that in the near term. That's why we have a whole separate effort
Yeah.
on it. And that is also public, so the meetings are also public and hi Stephanie and Ryan.
Hello there, you guys.
No video.
Yeah.
Video.
They
That's
sometimes
okay.
do.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on their phone.
So other things.
Yes,
in the
we're here.
office,
Thanks for joining us, guys.
we're doing our best to keep up.
Good morning.
Having all these things come through the door. And so, an example is, 8 of 58. So chapter 58, section 8. We had these people who their insurance was going way up and they found a square footage discrepancy. So I went out and did a inspection and they were being charged for a half story and a 3/4 story. So they had a half story, but they had the dormer. And then the person that added the 3/4 story didn't delete the half story. So they were paying for an extra story of living area that they didn't have. So it had been going on since maybe 2015. And we were through the 8 of 58 process, able to get granted permission from the Commissioner of Revenue to go back 3 years. So it was a little over $2,000 that will be able to go back for what they're overcharged for at least the last 3 years, and we now have it correct going forward. And there's another one that also I just found out about in the midst of preparing this last one to send off for the Department of Revenue to ask for permission to to abate. And so, yeah, we're just a lot of things that are Brown and Greenfield, and we're doing our best to keep up, and they just keep coming through the door and taking us away from doing other things. So
Mm.
Speaking of that, as part of the assessor's office update, can I ask you about a couple of our lists? My understanding is you already did these. Did you say that in the last meeting or the meeting
caught up
before?
on the
Yeah, so we already caught up on deeds. Which is probably one of our biggest lists in terms of the change in value, right? The new deeds and sales and.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that I need to find time to get to is reviewing the sales for the upcoming classification. So with every fiscal year, you're 2 years removed from the sales that you're looking at the calendar year. So we're looking at calendar 23 for fiscal 25 values. And all of those sales need to be reviewed. We have entered them through the deeds. We've classified them, whether it was an arm's length sale or not, or done our best. And with more investigation, we might find some more. But yeah, we have to look for what we refer to as outliers, so things that sold for a lot more or a lot less than we have them assessed for, and figure out why, and then adjust our data in our system so that it's matching what we have, and then whatever the difference is between the value that we have in our system and the value that it's sold for is the market, and that's what we use to make our adjustments. So that's gonna be one of the big efforts that I'm gonna have to make and start really, I need to get to it right now, is start reviewing all of those sales. You know, we had over 400 sales, not all of them, you know, there's a bunch of change or goes into a trust or something like that. There are family sales that aren't anything that we're investigating, but a lot of sales that happen just on the open market that were arm's length sales that we need to review and fine tune our data so that we know where we're gonna have to go with our values. Between fiscal 22 and 23, I raised the average single family value by 16.5%. From fiscal 23 to 24, I raised the average single family value by 10.5%.
Those are huge increases.
Yeah, it is.
So
Huge.
budget for, that we raised through taxable dollars in 22 was $37,200,000. And in fiscal 23, it was $37,700,000. I raised value 16.5%. The tax rate went from 2232 to 1965. It dropped $2.37. But then between fiscal 23 and fiscal 24, our budget went from 37,700,000 to 41 million. Three increase
10%.
So I raised values 10.5%, but the tax rate, you know, went from 1965 to 2039.
Okay.
And so when the previous year, I didn't hear from a lot of people, but this year I really did.
Yeah.
And yeah, the last director of finance decided to use up a lot of our excess levy capacity. And now we're, you know, it's a very tight budget
Yeah,
now. And we don't have a lot of cap room, so I don't know.
yeah. Wow. Holy moly.
A question, we're sending out bills now. Is there a stuffer that outlines all the exemptions that are available?
I don't know, and that's something that, you know, it might even be too late to get it into this mailing at this point. But I know that we did talk about it, and I actually was distracted in the beginning of the meeting because I was sending stuff to RRC to ask them about their mailing. Because I know the last mailing that we did, they were concerned, or RRG did, we were concerned about the content. So I had expressed that and sent an email to Chris Natali at RRC, and I haven't heard back from him. So I just sent a follow-up since we were at the meeting, and I wanted to give you an update. So hopefully, you know, I did show you guys, I think, an example of what they have.
Yeah, and we provided a little bit of.
Yeah, and so I kind of sent that back, and then I never.
Yeah, we've provided a little bit.
And so I want to coordinate and make sure that before anything gets sent out, that we have the chance to look at it.
That's great.
You know, have our input.
And it's great that you got with Kelly about Jenny's request for that exemption list.
Yeah.
And then
Well, actually, no, I didn't. You know, Ginny wanted me to attend the meeting, and then I was here and my reminder didn't pop up and I missed the meeting. And then she told me afterwards that, you know, there was no reason for me to really be there, and said that going forward, I wouldn't have to be.
but about the exemption insert.
The exemption insert.
Yeah, that we were just talking about. You said we might not get into the bills for this.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because it's already, things are moving forward on that. It's the 26th. We would have had to have that to our Jones already. And there's an additional cost that's involved too.
Can we talk to them about getting it for the next bill?
Yeah.
And those, I grabbed the stuff from the course 200 exemptions. And, yeah, which I think you provided.
But that's everything, not
Yeah.
exactly what Greenfield has.
That's true, I suppose, but all of the statutory exemptions were on that list, I believe.
It's everything, not Greenfield doesn't, communities don't have to do all of that. Like, for example, we do 41C.5, right? We don't do 41D.
I don't think so.
So 41D is in your list because it's an option for communities to pick, but we don't do 41D.
Okay, so
So we need to customize it for what we
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
Which you have that. That's the insert. You already have that little yellow page, right? That I took a few of them over to the senior center that says, here's all the exemptions you might be eligible for.
One page?
I think it was yellow.
The application.
It's just a piece of paper like this that goes with the application that has
With
a
the
list
letter.
of all the things that you can apply for.
Yeah, we have a letter for each one of the individual exemptions. And it talks about the different requirements for instance, for the seniors, the income and asset limits. And the different paperwork that we need and.
Maybe it's the group of those letters that is the thing that I'm thinking of. Because I remember when I was starting to do the Ask the Assessor, I came over to get some materials.
Yeah.
Not just applications, but also sort of a list of, here's the things you might want to apply for.
Yeah, I gave you the application, I gave you the letter with the amounts on it.
Yeah,
That's
that's what
all.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so that's the letter, that's the mailing that we send out for seniors specific.
Yeah, so I think all Ginny wanted was that list of, here's the things you could apply for and how much money you might get.
Mhm.
Summary.
Just to have that included in the bill.
Yes, just another, included in the bill? Yeah, okay, so with the exemption mailing. All right.
That's all she wanted. And that's a better thing to
Well, and
use.
above
than
and
that.
beyond that, yeah, we want to have something like Jim had, but customize it to what we have so that it's like a PDF that they could pull up on the website. You know, exemption information, oh, here's what's available, you know, in the city of Greenfield and have everything.
And that goes out to the tax title people, you know, people that are going to get in the early stages of foreclosure. So that
Yeah, I mean, that's what this was really about,
That's
is trying to do everything we can to prevent these senior foreclosures. And one of the easiest things we could do is just remind seniors about their exemptions. Yeah.
By the way, how is the senior center attendance? You get.
I'm booked. I got two more for today. So I volunteered to do like office hours at the senior center because there were so many people going after Devin and Randy about why their taxes were this
Oh,
and
so
that.
tax advice or.
Well, it's not advice,
Informational,
explaining their
yeah.
bill and explaining why things are happening the way they are.
Okay.
And so they set me up once a month for an hour. So they make up to 2 appointments, and so far they've all been filled. And this month I have 2 appointments, and today's the day.
Okay.
I'm going to be over there at 1 o'clock.
I thought it was the second Tuesday.
The 4th.
Fourth? Right. Well, and we'll talk about other stuff.
So far, Hope told me yesterday, I was over there because I also volunteered to make their lunch. But Hope told me that every one of the people who's gone into those hours has told her that they really appreciated it, that they learned a lot, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I think we should keep doing it.
Yeah.
And the more I asked her if she can open it up to more hours, right? There's only, 16,992 people left to do.
Yeah.
But most of them are not seniors.
And they're not that most of them aren't seniors.
But, I want to get on the library calendar,
Do the same thing.
do the same thing, basically at the library. I'm not sure about the appointments, but if you're the 4th Tuesday, I'll do the 2nd Tuesday.
Great.
Okay.
Would Kelly, as the treasurer collector, be in this meeting also too, when you discuss billing and what's put in the bills or timing? Is that Kelly's, or does it still fall
No,
under
we could
you?
maybe ask her to come to the meeting. to
But
discuss
it still falls under, she just does the.
That's her territory. So, yeah, we'd have to ask her and coordinate with her. And I mentioned.
Oh, I see, to coordinate with her about
Mentioned
what
the
goes.
expense.
Yeah.
We have AP Jones, who is our deputy collector, and they also do our bill printing.
Okay.
So you must know them because they're right on 98 Cottage Street in
Are they?
Hampton.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that what they do?
Yes, that's.
Okay. Just wondering.
Yeah, the deputy collector for excise.
Okay, so all of this is sort of really the purview of, the bill and the communication and exemptions, all of that. And then it's the treasurer collector that makes sure it goes out that way. Is this how things work?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
I basically get an extract from our database and get it
Okay.
imported into the billing system.
I said, then
And
they,
then I turn it over to Kelly. And then that's what we're signing off on. I'm the one that authorizes her what to collect, and then she's the one that does the collection.
And then when you implement this new contribute, I'm sorry,
But the board.
but you know, I saw something really exciting in the paper about people can contribute to help offset. Would that be the purview of this?
That's one of our topics today.
Which one is it?
But again, that's really, that's a collector thing.
It's a collector thing
What-
to the,
It is, except for the law specifically states that one of the 5 members of the board has to be Jim.
oh.
Oh,
There's a
The
separate.
chair of the
board.
Board of Assessors.
Al Norman's note about the item said, I think it's the assessor who's on that or designate.
It's the chair.
Well, okay,
MGL.
I'm happy, whatever it is, it is.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna have a separate committee.
Your
or
5
something?
people, one of them will be Jim, one is the treasurer, I think. And then the other 3 are whoever the mayor wants. But we definitely should all be providing input to Ginny about that. And also you and the treasurer can designate someone else to do it for you. But I don't know why you would, because you would be amazing.
So other things office wise is I'm also trying to get the ball rolling on advertising for the
The
person.
clerk, yeah.
And so I don't know, I think Diana maybe was on vacation. And follow up with her again today.
That's so great that you got that new position because like I was just going to ask you about, so we haven't been able to get into the tip lines yet and
Yeah, there's so much that we can't get to.
Exactly.
We just need somebody as soon as possible to start helping with our workload. And yeah, it doesn't feel real yet. Oh,
right until they show up, right? Absolutely.
at
And
least the ball is rolling.
and I understand the same way. I don't know if you've heard differently, but Mark has not been able to really get into that construction versus value list either.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did talk to Harold and we're gonna try and spearhead some of the best ones that we are the largest potential new growth properties that on the list. I haven't refined that and gotten it to him, but we discussed it, you know, at the time he was in Germany. And so we're getting closer to that time though.
This is the one that's including all the marijuana dispensaries.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I know that Southern Legion now is a marijuana dispensary, and that's like the number one.
Yeah, they're sprouting up like weeds.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. So I think that also had, well, that was one that also had a typo in the value.
Oh, yeah, the $20 million one,
$20
yeah.
Mhm.
But no, but I really, I'm very supportive and appreciate the way you prioritize the office on the things that we absolutely have to do, like these.
Yes.
Mhm.
There's too many things, but the good thing is, sort of, is that it's been a lot of learning moments for Dennis. Being able to teach for a lot of, you know, a lot of great examples of things that don't really happen all the time. And it's like, hey, you know, you might not remember this time, but next time. That's
You know,
that's great.
learning moments,
Yeah.
parents, this is a learning moment, usually the crap out of a kid, you know. It's a learning moment for you.
But those were the only lists I could think of. I mean, I just know we have a lot going and once we get that clerk and some other stuff, hopefully
Yeah.
it'll be an investment that'll bring us a lot more new growth
Yeah,
and
yeah.
value.
Well, and it'll help us clean up a lot of stuff too.
Yeah,
Okay.
reduce risk.
I don't know. I'm sort of a risk taker. I mean, we ought to push. Yeah, never mind.
Okay.
Okay, RRG report.
Yeah, they are, David has been in. I know that he had over 180, I think 185 inspections and property record cards ready to go for inspections that he was going and doing. He has been completing them. I was out of the office when he was here, but even I think Devin, he was only in for a little while because most of the time he was out in the field. And that's the way it's been for the last couple of weeks, so.
Is this his cyclical or is these special ones he's
No,
on?
these are building permits that he's looking at.
Oh, he's going to, oh, excellent.
He's going through permits, so
Ah,
all the stuff for, since October, March.
Yeah, all the major stuff.
Yeah, well, he refined the whole, I gave him a list of over 1,000 permits. And he came up with 185 he's concentrating on.
Cool.
And,
I mean, this is probably a perfect overlap with that other list we were just talking about.
yeah,
That's great that he's doing that.
yeah, well, there's more permits since then that he doesn't have because it's just an ongoing thing, so.
Sure.
As we go on, we'll be able to still capture, do inspections up to a certain point. Before classification, because we are a chapter 652 community, which means we can capture new growth up until June 30th. And so even after June 30th, the things are happening that we won't find out about or get our final inspection on until July or August. But they can still be included with the values for fiscal 25. So even though he doesn't have the stuff for April and May yet, it's still stuff that we can get in prior to our values being finalized.
I'll say it again, I really appreciate the way you prioritize things and him.
And how is this, I've forgotten, do we get the permit stuff through Munis or what?
Unicity is
Municipal,
Yeah.
okay.
building department software. It's called Unicity.
And
And Vicky gives us a report, and since I've been here, I used to just give certain like building permits, and I started asking for everything.
Mhm.
And that was the list that I gave David, because I find that only one person gets a permit, the electrical or the plumber. Or, and that's how you find out about the other renovations that are happening.
Mhm.
And there's some other, what they perceive as their building permit umbrella, I guess. And so, yeah, hopefully he's going to more.
It was through Vicky's, a few months ago, Vicky gave us a list of all permits from 2019 to 2023 inclusive.
Okay.
Which was thousands and thousands of permits. And because she gave us that list electronically, that's how we were able to do all these analyses, like we were just mentioning about
Okay.
finding the biggest ones, the biggest things that maybe, there's growth that we could find.
So these are permits that were issued and probably already the certificate of occupancies were already issued.
Could be,
whatever.
and a lot of them, I mean, this is some of the learnings, and I spent some time with Mark to learn about this, and just like what you just said, Randy, a lot of those things are plumbing and electrical and other subcontractors, and so they're not actually relevant for new growth.
Oh, right.
Unless in some cases, when somebody's doing something a little bit sketchy and they don't file like an overall building permit, like a change in occupancy.
Yeah.
But if they do get subcontractors who have to pull permits, then you can infer from a large set of electrical work, for example, that maybe, but the only one who can do that kind of inference is the building inspector.
Okay.
So we just get this big list of thousands. And like Randy said, so he was able to filter the list and give it to David, so David can do inspections. I was able to do the list and combine it with the asset values so that we could find the heavy hitters for Mark to look at. The heavy, like ones that might have new growth.
So is it by law that you can go backwards and even if the work is already completed and knock, I know, remember like 6 months ago,
Yeah,
you want.
people don't necessarily have to let us in, but depending on what's going on, we can estimate.
I see.
So the list was basically a comparison of permit cost versus value.
Right.
Where it was lopsided and we had more permit costs for improvements than we had value, and those are the ones we're going to look at.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so we've had that, or, actually, it seems like every time we think we found a really egregious one where there's $1.5 million in improvements and we've still, got it at 400,000.
Yeah.
Somehow there's a typo.
Right.
But we did find, a few, and that's what we're looking for is,
Yeah.
we have a pretty big list. A lot of them are, I know that there were exempt properties, but I think we extracted those.
Yep.
And,
Right.
But you can see the prioritization challenge in the office. So we only have 2 staff now instead of we're supposed to have 3. And at the time when, this office is always busy trying to get, if we don't get all these buildings and stuff, the state shuts us down.
Right.
So it's a critical priority And at the same time, go
I
ahead.
mentioned the three ABCs.
Yeah,
And we had to get that form in. Well, those all need to be reviewed, really.
Yes.
And we haven't had the chance. We've received them. You know, with only two people in the office, we don't have the chance. And really, I don't think it's been years since that was really looked at.
Really?
And so that was one of the things I did. I sent it out to everyone, and, you know, all these churches and everything.
Yes.
You really, it doesn't, things don't change and they're just kind of on cruise control, but there's certain paperwork that we're supposed to have on file that we don't. And so I'm trying to make sure, or my goal is to make sure that we have all that on file, and then, okay, we won't have to bother you every year, but we have it, and then you let us know if there's a change. I would still want to promote like every 5 or 10 years, maybe sending something to everyone, but you know, right now we need to get a handle on it and make sure that everyone that is not paying taxes is, you know, supposed to not be pay taxes. We had a situation with a nonprofit that, you know, had a place and they were renting it out, part of their place, so they're not getting taxed on it, but they're renting it. Well, guess what? It's taxable.
Yes,
So we discovered that and, you know, and
that's right.
corrected it, but we need to be able to do that. That was just one, and it wasn't, you know, it just happened, one we happened to find out about. But really, we should be doing our due diligence and be out there and know and understand what's going on in our town.
Yeah, especially if the real estate, I mean, I've worked with nonprofits so long. It's like, okay, it's great that you don't pay real estate taxes. You're already getting that huge break, but all these other, the excise taxes and so forth, the not unrelated business income taxes.
Right.
You gotta put something into the system.
in any case, so the office would have been backlogged anyway due to the staffing issues and the normal state mandated things that the office has to do. But in the meanwhile, because of the very concerning financial situation that
Wow.
our administration inherited, we have to find new growth. So there's like this critical push, like find new growth. And, you know, it takes resources to do that kind of work. And Jim and I are trying to do what we can as like retirees at home, but it really, the way that you just discussed about how you were able to interleave the things that you had to do for the state, like the sales analysis and like you're talking about the ABCs and stuff, and at the same time sort of pry out a little sliver so that David could go after these big new growth things. It's a super challenge, you know.
A lot of moving parts, and so, in my opinion, top 3 most important offices in town. And we're set values, so that, you know, what's more important?
Yeah, that's the basis for everything.
Well,
Yeah,
the state will shut us, if we don't send in one report, they're gonna, the stormtroopers are gonna come in.
Well,
They're well dressed though.
we take our role very seriously. We have very strong convictions here.
You mentioned not being able to review the 3 ABCs. Is that something we can help out on? I mean, it sounds almost like it's so
You
formal
know,
thing.
it's office time that you'd have to put in.
We're there for that.
We're there for that.
That's actually 2 topics. That's topic 5.
Okay.
Board help with administration. Yes, we would like to.
Well, okay, so we'll catch that in item 5.
That could happen.
Okay, so RG, on municipality, wasn't there an issue of we needed an import module?
Permit module.
A permit module?
And that is in the works, so that got approved. And it's on Fernando's list. And he thinks like maybe next year around this time, it's finally gonna be done.
So instead of getting a bunch of
Do a whole migration to
spreadsheets for Vicky,
which we did, and I think things might be ahead of schedule, so I'm hoping, you know, sooner than later, because also we're not putting that information into Patriot right now. I figure once we get the module, we can do a big import of information, but in the meantime, we're just maintaining it in a spreadsheet.
and this is really important. So there's the list of permits for each property.
Okay,
So when you're trying to understand why a property has the value it has or why
Yeah.
it's in the condition it is,
Mhm.
it's really helpful to look through when work was done on the property, when did they replace the windows, when did they do this and that?
yeah,
So that's all been entered manually in the past, and with all these challenges, basically, who's been able to do that?
right.
So having this permit module will make it automatic.
Will allow you real time to put what's happening as you get the information, you produce your ad hoc reports or whatever.
Well, and again, just looking at each one, like when I,
Yeah,
this ask the
We got the
assessor we were
whole-
just talking
yeah.
about, where people come and they want to know what's going on. That's one of the first things when we look at their property card.
yes.
Is we say, is this accurate? Did you have windows 2 years ago?
Okay.
Did you do this and
Oh,
that?
okay, yeah, yeah.
And that's how we miss a lot of value, as we just discussed.
Yes.
People are doing stuff, and if we don't have the, know that there's those permits there.
Yes, right.
So that permit module will be great. And again, the office was able to get that approved earlier this year. The building department, they use Municity and they have, so it's really good you did that.
So one more thing about goings on in the office is we've had a few filings for ATB.
Wow.
And so one here for a lot of, there's 6 properties here.
All of that.
Commercial abatements that we denied. So we have almost 10 going now. And I'm trying to get them organized, but I brought a bunch of them up here just in case you wanted to look at it.
That's that one thing that, how do we describe that guy?
Which guy?
A headhunter or,
The what?
they're just fishing.
The,
They
yeah.
apply in every community every year and, see.
And they're going to ATB?
Now they are, yeah, so we'll see, and that's something that we'll, that Harold and I will be talking about.
What's ATB? Are they
A
contested?
tax board,
Oh,
so
tax.
you can apply for an abatement
Uh-huh.
and we either grant or deny, and if we deny but you don't agree,
You can go
you
to.
can apply for the appellate tax board. So there's a hearing with the commissioner.
Wow. Do you have to go or does someone from?
Yes, I would be going.
And he does everything.
Yeah, so then off you go.
Also, we have our RG that we work with.
Oh, okay.
to Help us.
I see.
Part of what we're paying them for is to assist us with our values. And so
Okay.
defense of those
Right.
values is also something that
Yes.
is part of the contract.
And this is this a virtual meeting or is it?
I'm not sure. And a few of the last few of them, they're all formal, which means that the values are over $1 million.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And
So they
that's,
have been doing a lot, just like the one that we attended last year.
I didn't attend that one.
Didn't attend that?
No, I didn't know about it.
Okay, sure. But,
Doesn't. ring
yeah,
a bell.
anyway, you can attend virtually, and they've been doing that a lot, especially for the ones that are informal, that are more for residences. They find it's more convenient for everyone, and especially them, I think.
Mhm.
And they have stated that they're getting through a lot more cases, a lot more quickly, and they'll be able to do a better job by having hearings virtual. But I haven't gone to, well, actually, no, the one I did, that was a formal one in East Hampton. That was formal too, and we did that, so it probably would be a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
On all of these. So
I
see what we can do, and, a couple of them are nursing homes, and when we're looking at their information, and there's been an ATB case that has kind of given us a template of what we can use to determine their value, and it seems right on, but also with the COVID, there has been a decline in what's going on in nursing homes too. So
Yeah.
kind of like, hopefully, or I'm anticipating that we'll be making an offer with some type of reduction of value, but try and save as much as we can without having to go to ATB.
Mhm. Okay.
But yeah, there's a button, and I just want you guys to be aware of them.
Okay.
And
Is that something we should talk about or? we just-
I wanna get them more organized. I'm gonna make a spreadsheet of them.
Okay.
And then I'll be able to give you a little report, or, there'll be a comments column, give an
Okay.
update on each individual one. I guess it's similar to the abatement log,
Oh, yeah.
but not as long, because the abatement log has all the pluses and minuses, the dollars, and
Yeah.
a bunch of extraneous stuff that we don't necessarily need here.
Okay. All right, so let's see, we did the staffing budget, calendar timeline, board help with administration, that's the 3 ABC stuff, so let us know what we need to do.
Yeah,
I still have a number of hours free each week to do stuff for you.
well, stuff like that would be tough, because then you'd need to log into Patriot. So I saw that you sent Fernando a question.
Yeah.
And last time he had responded, he had, some more official response, I remember. He already
We
sort of
talked
went through
about
this, but, let's see what he says.
Yeah,
And then, I don't know what this, you know, yeah, let's just see what he says, I guess, go from there.
That had to do with, the board having read-only access to the database. Okay, calendar timeline?
Yeah, I can go through like we did last time, kind of. So we went over some of this before for June, and I moved some things around, so. we could do it Again, or I can do July, we're coming up on the end of.
I guess, yeah, why not just look through it,
Okay,
and if there's any
Alrighty.
questions on any of the subjects.
yep. So June 10th is when we start to begin preparations for preliminary bills. That's past this time. Complete land analysis, update new land tables. That's in RRG.
Yeah.
Adventure, update agricultural horticultural values from FVAB reports.
Sure if that has been done yet.
All right. Update building cost tables, which is another RRG
Yeah,
activity. Input new utility assessments into personal and property system. Personal and property is now being taken care of by RRC.
but actually the utility values are still being handled by RRG. And those come electronically, their form of lists are given to us electronically. And I've already forwarded that information to RRG.
Okay, so completed.
Same for telecom,
Pardon me?
same for telecom assessments?
The input,
Yeah,
input new telecom assessments into personal and property system. That's what Jim is talking about. Review and finalize personal and property valuations. Again, an RRC currently still.
yeah, and
Um,
that's like, preparations for classification.
Prepare AS ratio report based on updated valuations.
ASR, so assessment to sales ratios, and that's what I was talking about, all the inspections. And or the fine tuning all of the sales that happen to the database.
I have a notation, 9/15, is that,
Yep, I added
that's
that.
the date?
I guess I should send you an updated version. I just made changes to this.
If our ASR comes out too far off, then
Yeah,
the state gets mad.
either direction. Oh, it's not
Either
really-
direction.
We have to increase our values to get the values where they need to be, so.
I mean, it's unlikely it goes this way unless we were through a recession. I remember when we had the big bubble burst in real estate.
And two
But
oh
you
nine,
never see that, you never,
I saw in a couple places where the values went down a little bit, but it was only a couple of years. And they-
oh, yeah, then we went back to the typical arrangement.
Yeah.
The deadline for that, like Jim said, is September 15th.
I'm actually hoping the same thing will happen. And, I'm still having conversations with people now calling, so I'm getting a lot of calls because people are getting notified from the bank that their escrow amount has changed, that their payment has changed because of what's going on. So, now I'm going through those same conversations that I didn't have in January now and doing the same type of explanation. So,
Which is extremely time consuming.
Mhm.
People come to the little half door thing down there and they just, they want to talk about their bills and everything. And as much as Jim and I are attempting to reduce the number of people coming in for that, that's just the way a lot of people do it.
Mhm.
And save Jim or I just holding up a desk down there just in case
Yeah.
someone comes by. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really,
This might be in Kelly's purview or it might be here. So you have direct pay people, and then you also have people who, especially if they have mortgages, have to escrow. It's part of their mortgage arrangement. Does that have any impact on how we collect, how well we collect, or how, is that a metric that is of any worth knowing?
yeah, that's really Kelly's.
It's Kelly's world.
Yeah.
we just provide the numbers.
You just give the numbers and then you see how many are gonna, because I would think receivables are really tough, Direct pay.
That's
I
all
know, I pay
Kelly.
mine direct.
Yeah, I think that we're.
I don't give it to the bank.
Behind the curve on.
Okay.
Flexibility of electronic
Yeah.
payments for residents.
Okay, yeah,
We don't do collections.
okay,
Yeah, that would be a better question for Kelly.
Kelly.
June 15th, mid-June, that's when we send the completed preliminary bill file to AP Jones for printing and mailing around that time.
Okay, so
We did do that. That's just to give you an example of when these things are happening. June 20th, last day to create revised omitted supplemental bills for fiscal year 24.
Good.
June 28th, is when we are planning to mail statutory exemption forms to arrive on July 1st, which is the qualification date. And then check map changes upon return by map vendor or cartographer, which is more planning, Eric Torres purview.
right, yeah, and so all of that has been done. Although we still keep finding different ones, different examples. People come in and say, oh, this is wrong.
Mhm.
That's another situation that I've been dealing with, or, you know, the multiple situations that just come in and they kind of can't ignore them. When you have acreages that are off and that type of thing.
And first quarter preliminary bills are mailed by the end of the month, usually around June 28th. Ours have already gone out. I believe they were mailed on the 24th.
Yeah, okay.
So people will be getting their preliminary bills probably today. They're online as well, so people can see them. So we're gonna get some more foot traffic for that, I expect.
Game is beginning.
Yeah.
And chapter apps, chapter.
We moved the chapter applications to be mailed to August. I
Yes.
believe.
Yeah,
Um,
an updated version.
but yeah, I'll send you one.
Good.
Yeah. That's for June. So we'll, July when July comes.
Yeah.
We,
Okay.
great.
We're on to evaluation capture and new growth.
So we discussed that already a little bit here. If you guys know, the meeting that was supposed to happen Thursday was postponed due to things that had nothing to do with us. But Jenny said she's gonna reschedule that very soon. And like I said, I updated a slide deck to help structure the meeting, which I've shared with everyone, including this meeting, and I'm gonna share with you hopefully soon. Do you have an email address?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
Just Stella.Chan
Okay.
at the Greenfield dash map. If you've been said, whatever is easiest.
Yeah, as soon as we get in touch,
Yeah.
I'll do all that. So anyways, so that this would only be our second meeting. And I think in the first meeting it was very much breaking of the
Discovery.
seal, discovery.
Everyone's
Uh-huh.
portion
Yeah,
or part of it.
I got an
Bigger
email,
picture.
I'm sorry,
No, sorry.
I got an email from Janine, asking, Chief of Staff, Craig.
Keith.
Keith.
Mhm.
Keith wanted to know what the agenda was. I was asking me, is this supposed to prepare, but
Yeah,
that's,
I already shared that with him.
you're already taken care of.
I went through every slide with him, including the first one, which had the agenda.
When did you do that?
This is for the new growth meeting you're talking about? Yeah, when did I do it? Last Monday. A week ago today, or a week ago yesterday.
Okay. All right, well, I'll close the loop with Janine to find out what's going on the agenda, because
I shared that here last meeting.
I don't know why
There's another agenda whole format for agendas that we.
Oh, she wants one of these.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't do that. I just.
Yeah, okay. All right. So I wasn't sure if that's what you're referring to.
Oh, so we need to,
I'll-
she wants a template. Or the template filled in properly.
That wasn't, I'll forward the email. It was very nice. It
You,
was-
the email that I received from,
See, as far as agendas go, there's a format that we're supposed to be following that the clerk, or that we just kind of sent out to all departments. And our new
Right.
agenda is adhering
Yeah.
to that format.
Yeah,
So if there's any agenda for that other meeting, which actually, I think it was the Board of Assessors meeting, right?
Now it's called the Board of Assessors meeting. So, yeah, the thing is, I didn't sign up to know how to do this. I was just trying to create an actual agenda for what we actually be talking about.
Yeah. Well, I guess get that information together and forward it to
Yeah,
Debbie.
you already have the slides.
And then,
Okay,
So I sent them to you after the last meeting.
yeah,
but so what are we gonna talk about at the next meeting?
At the next new growth meeting. Yeah, that's, remember I updated the slides for the next.
Oh, yeah,
meeting.
okay.
The very first slide is the agenda.
okay,
There are 5 topics.
all right.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, I already did that.
Yeah, okay, and so then we'll just have to, because it's a Board of Assessors.
Have to get into the template.
That will.
So that means I have to lean on Devin.
that-
right?
Responsible.
Okay, I didn't know it
Is that
was.
how it
Board of
was?
Assessors
Yeah.
meeting. I thought it
How
was
is it
like
in
a
the
meetings
calendar?
meeting and they all-
So that's a new change.
Okay,
And that's actually why the meeting was canceled.
yeah, okay,
The reason the meeting was canceled is because it needed all the proper things that we're just talking about, the whatever it is, the reason why we have to do this. And Juneteenth was on the Wednesday, so they
Oh.
went to send it out on the Tuesday and it wasn't enough
Oh.
days ahead.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
there wasn't 48 hours notice.
And yes, it had to be changed to a Board of Assessors meeting because it had to be public because all of us are there. And because all of us are there, not only does it have to be public, it also has to be a Board of Assessors meeting, just because we're all 3 there.
Because you guys are there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't think it had to be a public meeting either because it was departmental.
Yeah, except for because we're there.
Yeah,
it
you're
becomes-
okay,
Yeah.
We
Well-
can't go have coffee together without it
Yeah.
being a public meeting with a 3-day ahead agenda,
okay,
Bummer.
alrighty.
right? Because it's 3 board members.
Yes, right.
So if I go over to Jim's house to have a biscuit, it's a
Okay.
Board of Assessors
That's
meeting. We need to have a Zoom meeting and have an agenda 3 days ahead of time.
Okay, so that's something that I'll be taking care of then. That was,
If you can.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
yeah,
I don't think anyone told you.
no.
It's kinda just coming out right now.
But I'll do it, yeah. Alrighty.
Yeah, actually, I was kind of wondering if Janine would do it because she.
I thought that she was going to, but I'll take care of it. If it's a Board of Assessors meeting, I gotta.
Or it says
it's our
canceled Board of Assessor
responsibility.
meeting.
Maybe check with her to make sure you both don't do it.
I'll.
So, yeah, unfortunately, it's under our jurisdiction.
Anyway,
And that we'll have to do.
Hey,
So that makes it simpler, I guess, because we know the new format. And we'll just sell them for that, or we have probably a template.
mhm.
But in turn, yeah, I'll send you guys what I got from Janine. I mean, struck me as, why me?
yeah, no, you're thinking of the agenda. It had like 4 things on it that were kind of not really. For the Zoom, I saw in the Zoom meeting, it had like 4, before it was canceled.
Mm.
It had like a little
Oh.
concept of what an agenda might be.
Okay.
If someone wasn't doing it. So, yeah,
I'll send an email I got. And it was very nice to open it up and say, good morning, sunshine.
Yeah.
no, I'm glad you shared it though.
Did I share the whole?
Just now what you said. So
Okay.
now we're gonna fix the problem. Thank you.
All right, the tip line.
Yeah, we just talked about it. We have one and we'll get to it when we have enough staff resources to get to it. Is that
Okay.
my understanding of the summary, Randy?
Hopefully before. You know, we're hopefully gonna make some time with some of the staff that we have already to get to it and prior to the, you know, end of our capture of new growth for fiscal 25.
That would be great, but I certainly agree with the prioritization of the permit stuff, since that's known dollars.
Right.
Because all this tip line stuff is
Speculative.
extremely speculative. It doesn't mean that there aren't great things in there.
Yeah, between the tip line and the other lists that we have. We want to concentrate on some of those,
Mhm.
so.
The council relations, expanding exemption qualifications.
Yeah, so we talked about this last time, but it wasn't the right time to do it. This is the, what we were just talking about. So Greenfield doesn't do 41D. Greenfield, there's a couple others that went up in value a little bit for this year that we had the option to increase them. I made a little summary slide of what our new options for this year, or all the options that Greenfield has never chosen, including the new ones for this year for individual exemptions. But we were gonna look at that so that when we asked the council about it, we could give them a rough idea of how much it would cost them.
For, oh, yeah, okay, how much the additional hit on the overlay basically would be, how much other reserve funds we'd have to anticipate to make.
As an estimate.
And I think, yeah, we probably ran out of time to get it done before the fiscal year. So now we've got a ton of time before fiscal 26.
Well, but this isn't for that, it's for the classification here.
Oh, yeah, okay, so but I thought you were talking about adopting those other.
I am, but I thought we needed to do that prior to the classification hearing so that it's included in the calculations.
Oh, yeah, okay, so it might be, yeah, for fiscal 26, so that it's approved prior to, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also any other thing, what else did, I thought, were one of you gonna attend the meeting and ask them what they wanted to hear about?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, exactly that. So I wanted to go there and I don't know if you or whatever we do, but say, we love seniors. Here's more things you could do if you want.
We talked about the residential exemption too, and they were talking.
That's right.
Splitting the tax rate too.
That's right. There are all those things. We want to tee up all those things that they
Let's
can.
start talking about it now. That's what I was saying last year. So start talking about it now and publicize it so that if we do split the tax rate, it's not a shock to the commercial community. And
Yes.
they have their chance to say something about it, prior to us voting it in.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the continued discussion about the split tax rate, we've run the numbers, and I mean, we'll do it every year, of course, but,
You don't get much.
you don't get anything.
Yeah.
I mean, and it takes a lot of political capital to do it. And it really doesn't yield anything because, of the 3-to-1 difference in terms of residential versus commercial.
Right, but we have the fortune of not being real politicians. We have the good fortune of that. So it's only our role to just say what you said. Hey, you guys aren't going to make cash off this.
Right.
And just present them
No,
with the
no,
numbers.
You don't
I
make
agree.
any money off of splitting the tax rate. You
No,
just
no,
shift the burden more to.
But the motivation is to decrease the tax burden on the residential folks.
Yeah.
And because you've got 3 times more valuation captured in residential than you do in commercial, how much can you raise commercial so that it has a noticeable impact on residential? And the problem is you can't.
Mhm.
I mean, you can do anything you want to, but the point is, in order to get any sort of a marked decrease in this larger bulk from increasing the smaller
Yeah.
is very difficult.
So that's our role, is to provide that
To provide the
information. But
information
their role
is to
is
figure out what they're gonna do.
Well, because we've all heard, I've certainly heard from many, many, many people, oh, those businesses, we have to do a split tax. I've heard that from many, many people.
Mhm.
For many other people, I've heard, oh my gosh, they're going to tax all the business out of Greenfield.
Yeah,
And regardless of the facts that we're going to present of, don't do it because it's not going to help anyway, just make
No,
people
no.
mad.
that's our conclusion.
Right, but they still may end up doing it anyway, just because of the balance of,
Yeah.
the balance of their constituents. So
Right.
that's fine.
Yeah,
We're
no,
just here to provide information and do whatever they tell us to do.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're really
No, no,
lucky to be in
I-
that position.
No, no,
I don't want to have to make people happy with
I
politics.
understand, and I went through this with Ways and Means a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I understand the drill, but it's just something we have to do
Yep.
every year, and people have to say, oh, and do something. Which
Well,
is usually.
but this year, we're going to do it in the summer instead of on November 12th
Oh.
or whatever.
Right.
Do we need to tee that up?
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure, Jim, if I'm understanding where you're coming from. So are you saying because we're 75-25, that you don't think we have a large enough percentage of commercial to justify going to a commercial tax, a split tax rate?
What I'm saying is when you run the numbers, the increase that would be necessary on the commercial side in order to noticeably decrease the residential is very difficult. I mean, if you want to.
Large number.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a 3-to-1 ratio.
Because I know that in a lot of towns, or maybe we should look at some statistical information to see other towns that have a split tax rate and what their percentages are. Because I know that some, it's right around the same. And a lot of times the rule of thumb is that 25%. If you're 80-20, well, it's not.
No,
At least 75. That many times is a tipping point for many communities, or I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I was wondering if you did the research on that.
I did do some of that research. I don't know that it's current now. But, there were a whole bunch of cities that where they had a split tax rate, it was a negligible difference. And I think in a couple of cases, they stopped. Something like that. But, I'll go back to the split tax rate and update whatever.
I really appreciate, though, you reminding us about the exemptions as well, not the individual exemptions, but I don't know what you want to call it, the property exemptions.
For personal property?
No, the residential and the new affordable housing, because that was also really divisive. So politically, a lot of people like the idea of the residential exemption because, of course, it shifts the tax burden over to business a little bit. But it also shifts the tax burden to wealthier residences. And it also shifts the tax burden away from owner-occupied multifamilies to or duplexes to those that don't have the owner living there. The problem with the residential exemption is drives rents up. We already have the highest rents anywhere. And so I had people during the election campaign, I was talking up the residential exemption. I had people saying, do not do that. Our rent will go way up, we'll get kicked out. So then the state for 24 provides this new affordable housing exemption, which is to say, if you have low rents, then you get a break on your property taxes. So it's conceivable that doing those two things together, you could shift the tax rate without making things bad for renters. But even if that would work, that's a very complicated political thing to manage, the two different exemptions and the different ideas people have about it. So yeah, we need to get the numbers that we can in front of the council early so they have the time to understand it and then to talk about it with their constituents and get them to understand it and then to come back. So come November, we don't have to spend our precious 3 hours, where we're trying to say, these are the latest tax numbers and here's what's coming out, trying to explain to people why, whether they should do the affordable housing exemption.
Well,
Does this start with Ways and Means?
Well, it starts really with classification, because at classification, that's one of the things that you're voting on. Are you going to adopt this? Are you going to adopt that one? Right. It's the residential exemption. And so we were talking about it, but, my first year here, there wasn't really many questions about it. But then I gained a little bit more information, which, got a lot more questions going. And then all of a sudden I was negligent for not having all of the information prepared. And
it was impossible. It was like,
and it's not the first go round that we've had. So Harold told me that in 2016 or 17, there was the same type of outcry about it. And he did a whole study and presented the information and they decided that they wanted nothing to do with it.
Right. Because, for example, because the rent thing,
right,
it would have been a disaster.
But I guess the question I was really asking is what we are talking about now, tax rate and the exemptions, the impact of the exemptions. Should we start with Ways and Means? Because they're the ones that.
Yeah, ultimately recommend to the council.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should.
We can do
prepare
that
the information
anytime.
For them. We want to have, obviously, the whole council have access to the information.
Oh, of course.
But Ways and Means is the,
Start.
portion of the council that we've got to, hopefully they will communicate with us just to say everything that they need, that they are looking for us to present to them. And so that we can not have, people saying that you're not giving me stuff that I want to see. at the last second, so.
maybe the thing to do is for us to say, this is what we have, what else do you need?
Mhm.
And then we go
Yeah.
in front of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we
start with
kind of really didn't do that, you know, prior, I don't think, or since I've been here anyway.
Yeah.
But
No,
also, I
that's
mean,
right.
I'm doing a big presentation like I never saw before either. And it was all very, you know, quick, and I would send out a couple paragraphs, and that was the extent of the assessors.
So are
Dissemination of information.
Are we going to need to schedule? I mean, I know it depends on when we have our stuff together, but do we need to schedule something in advance with Ways and Means to get on their agenda?
Yeah, they meet rarely and there's a stack. So you're saying we should get in line.
I think
So
so.
we can't get in line until we're ready, so
Right.
it's all about, that's what that 9:15 date was.
Okay.
So let's be ready to submit our information to the Department of Revenue, or start preparing our information to submit to we want to have all our inspections and everything done on 9:15.
Right,
It start crunching numbers.
but this developing of an agenda with the Ways and Means, can we do that way ahead of having any numbers?
Well, I mean, the split tax rate, there's some research that needs to be done and, I would say to refresh the data, could have it next week, for example. The exemptions, that's a little bit of analysis. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I did it before. Can do it again.
Yeah, and, so let's say it takes us into the middle of July to get that stuff together. So then we could schedule a
Ways and
time
Means.
with Ways and Means anytime after
Like in
that.
early August. Right, we don't have to have all the real numbers. We just want to talk to them about.
And depending on what they want the information they want from us.
Yeah.
We
Well, I mean, we can
do, I mean,
tell-
to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe
Yeah,
then,
so I think the sooner that we talk to Ways and Means about, hey, what is it that you want?
Yeah.
okay,
Better.
Yeah.
which means we
And then
probably need,
suggest a couple things too. Okay, hey, we
Yeah.
talked about this, we talked about that. It was an issue. Is you still, what do you want? Is there something new that's come up that you were looking for information on? Let us know now so that we can be prepared and get the information to you well in advance.
Yes. Yes.
okay, so maybe the thing to do is to refresh the analyses. And, revisit what we have at the next meeting.
Yeah, and again, they're going to be interested in the numbers, like the actual breakdown, but more importantly, I think just a discussion of what is the residential exemption? What is the affordable housing exemption? What does the split tax rate do?
I mean,
Each one of those things.
we can give them examples using fiscal 24 values.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, this is the impact last year. This is what it would have done,
Yes,
So,
yes, exactly. We can do exactly, just explain to them what these things are, how they work, and then say, for example, if we had done this in 24, this is what would have happened.
That's,
And then that should stimulate that discussion.
So our goal in the assessor's office is to have our values and everything approved so that we're at the point where we can have the classification hearing as soon as possible. They'll still want to have it in the first or second week of November, but if we could have it in mid-October, that would be great. If we're prepared and ready and have our approvals through, and the sooner that we get in line with the Department of Revenue for our approval, the quicker it's going to happen. And the later that you wait, the slower it's going to be because more and more communities are submitting that.
If we have these meetings in August and they understand what all these exemptions are and they understand what it would have been like in 24, then when we produce the real 25 numbers in
Exactly.
September, then it will be just a 5-minute thing.
Yeah,
And just
exactly.
say,
We
oh,
talked about this is what it was last year. This is how it's panning out right now, the way things go. Yeah.
yeah, this is the same, so, okay, we won't do the thing, or we will do this.
okay.
Yeah,
So, we just need to update our data for.
I have okay, yes, yeah.
Yeah, even actually, you already ran the information, but it was using.
I ran it for
numbers.
22,
Oh, for 22, yeah, okay.
because that's what I had. I the 24, I didn't have in the right format to do that. Yeah,
All right, well, we can update that.
but it's, again, I don't think it's about the numbers. I think it's just telling them what these things are.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, and that was really, I think you're right. That was a lot of it, well, what is this? We talk about every year and then you
That's
say
right.
that we don't want to do it and
That's right. Right.
Okay.
I mean, that's why I tried to get more information this year and then
And I think this is a great thing for your board members because we are fellow elected officials.
yeah.
Elected officials talking to elected officials about essentially political items. It's highly appropriate. And maybe when we're talking about actual numbers, then it's you as the chief number guy. You come in, like, here's what's actually in there. The board members waved their hands at you last week, but here's the actual, so it's a good split of ways of communicating.
Okay. Educational outreach. I haven't heard anything back from GCC about the community engagement. I don't have anything more than the write-up that I think I provided you. We still, haven't figured out what we're going to do with the assessors night. But I think that's probably something we ought to do after we set the tax rate.
A lot of times, well, the focus is exemption awareness. And so I like to do that not too long if we could. And also, it seems schedule-wise, like usually in August is like when the community center, it's good timing. It's not too long after it came out, but then, start getting the word out to everybody. And it seems like the speaking schedule somehow frees up around that time. Or that's just, I can't really say for sure that's the case, but that's when I've done most of them. It's not too long after the beginning of
The fiscal
of the
year.
fiscal year, yeah.
Okay.
Because that's when you can apply, so waiting too long, it's great, but yeah, just our whole, any time is a good time, I guess, for exemption awareness and any information that we can get out there, so.
So maybe there are really two assessor nights. One is to go over all the exemptions to make sure everybody knows that, and that's a pretty straightforward thing. And then the other is more of a listening session where people, can, we tell them how the system works, and then we interact with them to answer their questions. So there's really exemptions versus Q&A. So the exemptions.
Depending on the length. Depending on the length, we might be able to do both. Start exposing to the exemption stuff and then start talking about, the rest of it.
Well, yeah.
Or, I don't know, either way.
Or maybe we use the exemption thing as a way to develop an initial list of questions that will frame our Q&A.
Yeah, actually, many times when I'm doing the exemption talk, I also throw in excise at the end. And that usually prompts a few questions. So maybe, one on real estate and one on exemptions and excise.
Okay.
And no exemptions to do with real estate.
Okay, and the exemption thing we could theoretically do in August. Is that a good time? I mean, people are.
Yeah, it depends on, the availability of the location.
Senior center.
Yeah, the senior center,
Okay.
and what they've got going on. If they got, room for us.
Okay. Well, I can make some, you.
So going there today,
Yeah, go ahead, ask.
ask when we can do assessors night at the senior center.
Yeah, we really want to do two of them.
I had talked to Hope about doing, a exemption awareness talk since I've been here, so.
So.
Yeah, I'll just send an email.
Okay, all right, let's.
Yeah, and see if there's, schedule that we can get included in. Because they have other speakers too sometimes.
Okay. And we can also get a Q&A slot scheduled to. So who's going to do the scheduling?
What do you mean?
Yeah, you're going to.
I'm gonna send an email, see what they've got for us. But what is it like? They know how to do it, I'm sure.
Yeah, just if you mention that we want to do
Two
a presentation, talk about.
of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. This is official business, so there's a protocol for it. Okay. Okay. And tax taking. To be proactive. We need this list to feed to Kelly so that she can put it in, and maybe there's a way of taking a look at her list of folks and seeing whether any of them off the top of our heads qualify. In other words, she may be sending out
Notices
notices.
to people who we know are seniors.
Yeah, we did talk to
And-
her about that, I think, and about,
She just doesn't know who's,
well, it was, I think, my thoughts on it were, it takes 2 years before she really starts action. So after 1 year, if they, or let's set up a guideline of when people get to a certain amount of delinquency, then they come on our radar for outreach, so that we can get a report and say, hey, who's over a year? Who's a whole fiscal year behind? And when they are, then we can start,
so does that mean we ought to get agreement with Kelly?
I don't know. That was just a thought that I had.
I think
So we're
it's a
trying to
great
be
thought.
proactive and, okay, well, let's get them before they get into, don't wait until they're, hey, you're at the bottom of the sea. You your hand, don't, let's get them while they're still, partially afloat.
Yeah,
And, the sooner, that was my thought, is that the sooner that we could make them aware if they're in a situation, the better. And then if they don't qualify and there's nothing we can do, okay, well, at least we gave it a shot and tried to stop the bleeding as.
Yeah. well, the whole process of, she sends out the notice. There's a period of time before the notices go out, right?
Yeah, or I'm not sure. And so we have to actually, you sort of mentioned, maybe we should have Kelly ask her if she'll come to a meeting.
Yeah.
See if we can get Kelly to come to our,
That's right.
so that we can talk and discuss, because then it's like, something always gets
Yeah.
lost in the translation, or I don't remember everything that we talked about after I talked to her the next day after the meeting. And then we don't have,
Okay.
we're not here again for 2 weeks.
Okay,
But yeah, because that was some of the stuff that I remember, just ideas that I had when I was talking to her about it. It's-
maybe,
And I think you were there too, or I don't know, was there one time when we were both over there? Coming and you're just talking to her at a desk or something?
yeah, I was talking to her at her desk.
So that was a thought that came into my head. Let's not wait until, she's ready to foreclose. Let's assume, let's establish a timeline of when we're gonna decide that we want to intervene or provide additional information or let them know that there's assistance out there
Mhm.
and see if they qualify.
I sort of need like code yellow, code red, and then code.
So yeah, something, yeah,
To
exactly.
kind of say, where are they, and then just highlight, and then just say, because she's doing she's the collecting, she's looking at the receivables, she's looking at the aging and all that stuff, but at some point, you gotta say, what's the tipping points?
Right.
Go into.
So if we could coordinate it with a certain notice that she ends up saying, okay, I'm sending this notice because it's been X amount of time.
Yes,
And then, that if we could ask her to, as a courtesy to let us know who goes there, and then we can take over from there and just send them a mailing,
Mhm.
saying, hey, these are things that have been, not even, we know you're struggling, or just so you know, it doesn't have to say anything about it, that these are things that are available for people that are, assistance.
So should we invite her to a meeting and, this is gonna be the topic of discussion, and we just basically talk to her about how she does it, where we can insert what needs to be inserted.
Yes, if she, what she thinks work with her to coordinate when she thinks the best, time would be. Yeah, I wouldn't say, I want to tell, well, Kelly, this is the date, this happens, it'll be 10 feet. Because she'd rather work with her as a team to figure it out.
What's the best way to ask her to?
Yeah, I'll just ask her if she can attend our next meeting.
Great. Okay, there was one item missing. Last time we talked about pilots. And
Oh, yeah.
I done some research on pilots and I just haven't summarized it. I was gonna do that and provide it to Jenny and provide it to you guys.
So, new idea on pilots. That, I was asked to do a little research on, and I just did a tiny little bit. But the question was, you guys know that we're expanding the senior tax work-off program significantly. So it already this year went from 15 to 20 spots.
Mm.
And each spot could be up to $1,875 of property tax taken off. So that hits the overlay budget. Right? So for 20 spots, it's essentially $40,000,
Mhm.
right? Well, this year we had 65 applicants, which is much higher than it's ever been. Because people are excited about the new, that we're expanding it. And also, I understand that departments are actually asking more than they ever did before. So the program's going to expand more and more in the coming years. And so the idea was we might have more success with pilot if it's more obviously has political value. And so the suggestion was to have pilot companies support senior tax work-off.
You mean
So-
their pilot payments?
That's right. So let's say it's the hospital or something.
Yeah.
So the hospital, instead of saying, okay, we're gonna give you $100K each year, they could say, we're gonna sponsor 50 seniors.
that's kinda
Or
cool.
we're gonna sponsor 10 seniors, or these particular seniors who volunteer at Bay State, we're gonna sponsor them to volunteer at the city, or something like that. And so the question was, is this legal? Can you do this?
Where would
And-
pilot money go normally?
Into the general fund. Go straight in. There's no allocation to it at all.
Who pays pilot stuff? I mean, who pays, you said hospital
Or
or?
organizations that are exempt.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But I think what, you can, I agree that, here, your pilot money is gonna be used here. And it's earmarked for this
Earmarked.
particular.
So I looked this up.
But if it can't be earmarked, it's still a good communication strategy to say,
Sure.
your pilot is going
Sure.
to be supporting
But
this.
what I looked up, though, that might be relevant is apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, every single pilot agreement is in essence a contract.
That's right.
And these contracts, you can put anything in a contract.
Oh, that's,
And so these earmarks could be in the contract.
That part I'm not sure about, because what I've been wrestling with. How much is an appropriate pilot? And, this goes back to, pay what you want,
That's right.
Mhm.
but if you put a suggested donation amount.
Right.
Usually you get a little closer
Yeah.
to that than zero,
Beautiful.
So I'm trying to figure out how people
This could be
have
part of
set
that.
these things.
Oh,
Like Boston, for example, where, they just have a ton of exempt properties. It's like 10% of whatever your valuation was, or 25%, something like that. It's a
A lot
percentage
of
of the
times, I've heard
valuation.
in the past, it's half of what you would normally pay in taxes.
And,
But of course,
but
that's
I'm,
a larger amount. And so
Yeah.
Right now,
If
we,
I could get a quarter of what you would normally pay in taxes instead of nothing, I'd be pretty
Right.
happy.
right now, Greenfield has no pilots, right?
Yes, we do have a couple, one with the house authority.
Ah, okay.
but in any event, it can be more broadly applied. And we ought to take a look at how much these exempt properties are in fact paying. And one of the things that Boston did, which I thought was kind of clever, was here's the valuation. Here's what they're paying. This is the percent of the valuation that they're paying.
Yeah, shame them.
Shame.
Yeah.
pilot shaming.
Yeah, well, the whole pilot thing is all critical.
Yes.
So
So is your premise that if you had something like they could earmark or designate where the money goes, that it might entice more giving?
Yeah.
Participation?
yeah,
Okay.
I think what really entices more giving is them collecting more money from their donors.
Yes.
Because that's really the gating issue. Yeah, well, we'd love to help the city out, but, so. anyway.
right. So that I think was the idea, if the earmarks are particularly attractive to donors.
Oh, see.
Right.
right? So, right, sponsoring a
They're
senior is,
donors to filter through and say, and then
Exactly.
they do, well, that's tough, because that's like pass through pass.
right, but something like help a senior stay in their home. I mean, who doesn't, who would be standing against that?
Yeah,
You know,
Normally, you're still using the services of the town.
that's right.
It's costing the town X amount.
That's what my first argument would be.
yeah,
And part of that is,
that's a rational argument.
That's the action.
but even coming up with how much of the services an exempt organization uses is very hard.
Right.
All right, well, I'll get my stuff
Thanks for
together
bringing
and I'll
that up.
have something
Pilot.
for,
Sounds good.
For me to add an agenda item for.
yeah, the pilot. Also, the meeting dates at the senior center,
Yeah,
and we'll have Kelly on the agenda.
Okay.
See if she can make it. And then we need to update the split tax and the impact of the exemptions, do those calculations. Maybe we can do that for next meeting too.
I hear you.
Try and get on the agenda for the next Ways and Means minute.
No, for our next meeting. And then, when we have an update and we know what we're looking at, then we know how to pitch it to Ways and Means. And I think that's it. Anything else?
Did we open public comment?
Hey, you know what? Yes, we did.
Well, I guess I will make a motion to close public comment at this time.
Do we have something for executive session?
No, we don't, but I thought that we're kind of towards the end of the meeting.
Yeah, we are. No.
Got to the end of our agenda.
Yeah.
Is Stephanie or Ryan, you guys have any comments before we close it?
Not at this time. I do have some questions that I'll send some emails, but thank you.
Okay, emails are fine, or you can ask the questions, whatever you prefer.
It was a lot
Okay.
to digest today. I wanted to ask some questions about the pilots and some of the classification categories about the particular uses of buildings. But that's a much more extensive conversation than just a public
Okay.
comment. But thank you.
Okay, all right, that's great. Good to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Then, yeah, I will make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
so moved.
Favor, aye.
Aye. Okay, and I think we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, okay,
Take a-
so I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
You mean to adjourn?
Yeah, to adjourn, yes.
Second.
Second, yes.
Aye.
Okay, hold on, 15 minutes early.
I can't speak for you, but